Another morning again inside we had plenty things then they happen. I wonder how sneeze again what go here today. But this be small country we had. Anyway, before I go to the wahala now we had, I just go to my kitchen and check my colors.
Yes, colors. Some man really like for eat in the morning. Some people say them just like when they eat don't sleep. Other people say na the cow they like, especially when they cook the soup or plasas where they like pass all. So now that make we dey bring to you this program where we call Colres, as we dey look at different story them na the front page and inside the newspaper. So not forget to join me on Monday to Friday, both Facebook and YouTube. Usai we go bring to una different guests them where they can help for talk about the newspaper. We are channel for the people, the voice of the voiceless.
Another morning again inside we had plenty things then they happen. I wonder how sneeze again what go here today. But this be small country we had. Anyway, before I go to the wahala now we had, I just go to my kitchen and check my colors.
Yes, colors. Some man really like for eat in the morning. Some people say them just like when they eat don't sleep. Other people say na the cow they like, especially when they cook the soup or plasas.
Good morning and welcome to another beautiful edition of a program where we call Colores right on we have na YouTube and on Facebook. Today na a very happy morning. Yes, yeah, okay. It depends on what you do on right now. Some people have a happy morning, some people not a happy morning. But one thing we for thank God for na the life. Lord just give thanks and praise that we don't wake up again this particular morning. Well, today we don't come back again for talking about different things them where don't come out from the different newspaper them inside the country. Well, plenty issue they don't do. Like always, we can as well get people them where they rub mouth inside the issue then they for make sure say they give them the best of their own ability, you know. The best of waiting they're able to get as a professional, you know, journalist, as civil society, activist. It depends the kind of person what they get for the day. Well, we start first with the paper them this morning. And I go to the first paper for this morning, where now the ANALYSE newspaper. The ANALYSE newspaper gets this banner headline where say, "Don't abandon Dr. Julde Jallow. SLPP supporters won President Bio." And you get the need for sustainable electricity supply in Sierra Leone and the 10 most common reason people get divorced. This is another story there for you inside the ANALYSE newspaper. And the next paper for this morning at the Open Space newspaper we say, KKY, quest for national unity, government takes roots. And you as well get in Abuja, Nigeria, Confab, Info Minister tells how cyber law good for salon. This is another story there for you inside this edition of the Open Space. And the next one this morning, now the Watch newspaper will say as Sierra Leone Standard Bureau remains silence. Guinea government bans 24 hours energy drink. U.S. ambassador commends Sierra Leone judiciary, and the SLFA conducts CAF mandated inspection on Southern Arena. This and other story then for you inside the Watch newspaper. And the next one at the Salon Compass we say unbridled corruption at free education project. You also get Arise IPP assures Sierra Leone and travesty of justice. This is another story there for you inside this Salon and Compass for this morning. And the next one at the Health newspaper we say at Connaught MSF commissions new oxygen plant, and in 2022 Sierra Leone records lowest maternal death. President Bio distributes 6,000 sanitary pads in Bo. And this another story there for you inside the Health newspaper for this morning. The next one for this morning as Salon Times newspaper as David Senge blunders. President Bio condoles distressed parents in Bo. This another story there for you inside the Salon Times newspaper. And the next one at the New Age newspaper will say Agric minister to account for 4.9 billion onions project proceeds. And like Sierra Leone, like DR Congo, Pope Francis visit showcases Africell strengths at DR Congo. This another story there for you inside the newspaper. And the next one, now the Premier News newspaper, where say put local stakeholders endorse LRMG project and Omregoli a Greek initiative to end hunger. Over 6,000 girls receive free sanitary pad. Slickard request private sector meeting with president. This another story for you inside the Premier News this morning. The next paper now the C4D media we say citizens raise eyebrows as MDAs expand 1.39 trillion outside 2021 budget, and CSOs raises concern over termination of railway and port agreement. This is another story for you inside the C4D newspaper. The next pick now the AZ newspaper where says LEONE needs a coalition of progressives across party lines. And you get complementing school feeding program. WFP provides food for 200,000 school children, and Chief Whip renders free medical care to victims of Bow Stadium accident. RSLF certifies 36 new special forces to tackle terrorism. This is another story for you inside the AZ newspaper. And the next one now the Standard Times newspaper. Industrial zone ANALYSE IPP to invest 1.2 billion United States dollars. And Powerman Chief endorsed Leone Rock Metal Group. This is another story there for you inside the Standard Times this morning. And the next one at the Sky Times, we say sacking pre in Parliament. Over 30 workers terminated and more to follow. This another story there for you inside the Sky Times newspaper. And the next one, now the Independent Observer, we say 6 Powerman Chief endorsed Leone Rock Metal Group, and Slickard requests private sector meeting with President Marabio and Omregoli's agricultural initiative to end hunger. This is another story for you inside the Independent Observers. The next one, now the Calabash newspaper, where say ANALYSE IPP CEO assures Sierra Leone of massive infrastructure and industrial investments. Sierra Leone to benefit from $311 million regional energy emergency solar power intervention project. And U.S. Ambassador commends the judiciary for expediting PR case, saying it was fantastic. QNet is not a criminal enterprise. This is another story for you inside the Calabash newspaper for this morning. And the next one for this morning, now the Indigens, we say Councillor Unisa Toti Fofana well determined to take over Port Local City Council. This is another story for you inside the Indigenous newspaper. Ministry of Transport and Aviation to reform 371.2 million loans to the Consolidated Revenue Fund Audit Report 2021. The next paper, now the Solutionist, we say to improve economic risk monitoring framework. IMF Fund Finance Ministry. U.S. Ambassador defines PR case as fantastic. KKY focuses on national unity. Investors scare over dubious contract. This is another story for you inside the Solutionist. And the next one at the Apex, we say unreliable power, the daily struggle for Sierra Leoneans. Free quality education faces acute challenges. Serious approach needed to tackle rampant cancer in Sierra Leone. This is another story for you inside the Apex newspaper for this morning. And the next one, now the Awoko business, where you say Seratel outstanding loans estimate at 48.51 million United States dollars. And 20 strong women unite to tackle hunger and malnutrition with orange fleshed sweet potato harvest. And you get World C recorded the highest fiscal surplus balance. This is another story for you inside the Awoko business. And the Awoko proper say personality profile, AG champions justice and democracy. Brigadier General retired Komba Monde was laid to rest on Friday. This another story for you inside the Awoko newspaper for this morning. Well, now the paper in this way we actually get this morning for you inside the program. where we actually they can discuss then different issue there. So we actually they go now, so we get them inside the program for we start the ball rolling. Well, the two people that we get not to stage at all. The one in at the first time this for a camp na the Colores program, but when it comes to we had a bit happy I want him again. So I think we're very much happy for get him again. And of course, Melvin, the host the host captain, inside the now this particular program as the morning breakfast where we can say the Colores, it already a proper one. They are today inside. Editor George Temple, yeah, the investigative journalist. The person we don't they make sure say he bring all the things them where people them want for you instead of day with you inside the program. Good morning, editor, and welcome to the program this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We are the hosts. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Okay, so the first question we are going to ask you, when are the traditional question that one day, now the issue of Colores. You know Colores. How long? When last you eat Colores?
Well, Mr. Moderator, fortunately for me, yeah, just like how you say, when last I eat Colores, it done so long, but I don't know what happened. I don't know how I sleep yesterday night and how I wake this morning. As I'm talking to you, I just finish the Colores where I don't eat for over almost years. That's the day I eat Colores back here. So I don't know whose kind of coincidence this year. And then I don't even know say the topic on either the title of this show, na Colores or what have you. My brother, after 3, 4 or more years, today again, I eat Colores and you interview me with the show na Colores. So I don't know.
So waiting at the sauce for the Colores.
Well, really, it's nice because now some kind granite soup Colores, and I really enjoy them. Just like I was saying, after a while.
So for today, after 3 years, na granite soup you eat. But the question now, waiting at the best sauce where you can actually like. Is it that granite soup just come in because now you're available, or which one are the best sauce you like?
Well, me best sauce pan Colores business, my brother man will tell you a cassava leaf. I like cassava leaf. Because I can like for play with the bottom part, the crow. I can like for play with top. Yeah. So I think crow is nice, really. Crow is a nice thing, though.
Okay. All right. So waiting at you background to Colores in the days of them primary school.
Well, my background to Colores, really, there was one young man who they reside in a Bass Street because now Willow Billion Brookfields me grew up here. I mean, get one me colleague, but he was a Mendy by then. Yeah, he was a Mendy. Now we all go Christ Church Primary School. I could remember where I can left host for go school. I can left for go school. I did pass first now host to them for go call and follow go school. Within that process, I can eat them per my own Colores. No, really. So, I my brother. For almost years, I can always remember that my friend and I never don't forget no more, right? But now I will go eat Colores in the morning, especially Pemaun because they be like Pemaun bar, and I make a like Pemaun.
And you be saving the timing for the Colores.
Yeah. But that me friend and I can make you go to school. Me self strong, small because you don't get energy for continue for doing it because really.
It's very unfortunate on your side because you forget the guy maybe the rescue in Colores the morning.
Could you imagine my brother?
Me, I be get, you know, like when we in primary school, I be get one my friend we you know, when see lunch come because me also be too day far. When lunch come, now to the go eat me rest. But it's on me rest. Then when me off now rest not again. Yeah, so if each time I begin say, no, this is not come, it's not sweating. I begin balance and more balance, I know exactly who I go.
That's what happen. You get the balance. Because you keep your strategy as to how you for goddamn for like get what you want to from man.
Okay.
So really that my friend and I make her remember Colores and just like I was say way mommy can don't rush me for go school when I can go to that my friend and I keep it for his Colores before I go back in the school. So really I'm a fan of Colores, really. I'm a fan of Colores.
All right. Continue for the to inside the program. Melvin, welcome one more time. I hope you get a wonderful weekend and I wish you a nice week ahead. So
thanks so much. Yes.
So how the parliament? What's it go on?
Well, of course, parliament still meets on several legislation. One therefore do with the Work Permit Act, where the Minister of Labour done did in a parliament couple of weeks now. It's still the pilots, then at the committee, or they get a pre-legislative hearing on crossing the T and dotting the I's. Hopefully, perhaps it will make its way again to the plenary tomorrow if they sit in the hold. But also, we see aggrieved party of people where they reside in Hastings and raise a concern against the Ministry of Defense over alleged land grabbing, and then been in a parliament last week for the Committee on Defense and Lands address that issue. By the end of the day, then Comonado and some of them express pessimism over whether parliament go do some case, because by how the soldier man talk, it seems as if they have been backed or indirectly supported by the committee where not been well constituted first in the first place. So a lot in parliament, and of course, lots of MPs are back in their constituency fighting for symbols. Now the PR is sacrosanct. Everybody's at work.
Okay. All right. So let me go now and begin watching different paper. Then the first paper I take this morning. Now the Aoko newspaper. The Aoko newspaper gets this part of the written. Well, now something this will happen last I think it was Friday or so. Yes, Friday. We the MV Maera, according to the Aoko, MV Maera malfunctions before it reaches Lunge Abo. So let's begin get to take on this. Waiting to actually make up of this. Melvin, you are aware of the story already, yeah? Because I think say you follow. Yes, you follow this particular ferry. Editor, you be aware of this thing?
Yeah, I follow up on our social media as well. I see the news. Yes, I see the news.
Okay, so let's take a bite. Melvin, what do you make up of, the ferry system, especially now that, like this ferry now, according to what we understand, we'll be do live really, thanks to our all effort. We as well noticed the ferry take like 3 hours. It just team up one side, pass where they can patch and before a manage go. Because we be able to get a journalist we all able for coordinate, able to get live thing of waiting happen. So what do you make up of this particular issue?
Well, for me, several things come to mind. The issue of the Lunge Bridge come to mind. The issue of the Mamamai Airport come to mind. And also the issue of the airport expansion all the back of my mind. Let's begin with the airport expansion, where this government don't make lots of noise around. Well, firstly, it's now ought to be clear that it's a work in progress and it's yet to be completed, contrary to waiting people will believe that we have a new terminal and new airport. And looking at the contract, it's an expansion, meaning it's a building on the old. Apparently, I bring the Lunge Bridge issue because of the fact that you remember many reports that were before now we talk about.
Before you go to the Lunge Bridge, I actually want some more clarification on this, because you are aware and say this particular airport business, I think we get a lot of talks, on the social media, the government, not only social media, even government, they as well the trumpet is a lot of way. And we understand in a very new airport, but now you tell me about extension, because that might be the initial thing we know about. So tell me more about what you see in the contract.
Firstly, what was ratified by Parliament is airport expansion. And the one that we sabi book, if you expand, that means you come up from expand for reach to an expand. We mean say something was existing there. So that notion of brand new airport will not hold water, because it's a building on something that was already existing. No matter how brand new or how original or how innovative it is. But it is premising on an existing old infrastructure. So it cannot be qualified to say we are having a brand new airport. I will agree. So if they say we are having a brand new terminal, but where is that terminal located? In the old airport building. So it's not a brand new. And again, having this airport being expanded does not solve the problem of attracting travelers to Sierra Leone. Many travelers, including diplomats, including business people, they will tell you, say, the problem not alone, not to the size or even the service being offered at the airport. The problem not alone that the time what it take for common at the airport and for access the capital city. In West Africa and in almost all places in Africa, now only Salon you come, you have to use all 3 means of transportation for access the city. We beg the issue of where is the Lunge Bridge? And let me just wrap up before I talk about the consequences. Should that be a Lunge Bridge? People have to be stranded on a ferry? Not at all, I don't think so. But again, the bigger picture there is, if we get to the Mama airport, what if we talk about need for ferry or even the Lunge Bridge? Nobody at all. So the prudence around the cancellation of the Mama project is still hovering. And many people go ask themselves, does it make sense to have an expanded airport and ignoring issues such as ferrying, issues such as transportation, issues such as the other services where you needed? That being said as the premise, let's go to the impact of that 3 hours stalking of that ferry. I am reliably informed that some people, not one, not two, missed their flight. And if you miss your flight, at least you don't travel going to Europe, you know, say for make a change of tickets goes with an additional cost. Who takes the responsibility for that? Nobody is talking about that. There's another case of a military officer who is supposed to be graced high-profile military session at Lunge. Unfortunately, the guy was so distracted that he could not even talk to the press. There were other people wait for go meeting, others them wait for go do business, and others them wait for go collect the people where all of them get stuck and affected. Who takes liability for the damage caused? I think it's what we've not seen on the news agenda. And it's quite unfortunate that such should be considered seriously because the deed has been done. We not even come to the maintenance culture. We not even come to the ineffectiveness of the government in providing these services where they already they exist. We don't say we don't get we don't country in ferry. Wait here with that ferry day. It's a question for another day. But for me as a journalist and as a critical thinker, the damage has been done, but who takes responsibility for that damage? And as of now, civil society is not talking about that. Government is not talking about that. And even the so-called companies are not talking about that. When we know people that wait for fly go Europe, people that go attend conferences in parts of the world, they don't miss that. Who that could take the responsibility? I think that's the agenda we should be engendering in this conversation.
Editor, you see, for that particular day, from what we see where we see there and they do live relay, we'll find out say some people will be one for travel, they even risk their life for come out from the ferry. At one point, first of all, even left the ferry for kind size speedboats at risk. Yeah, and they sit down now on speedboat for one, let them get and go over now the Lunge Tagrin. For let them wait before go catch up with the flight. So this now been serious something will happen that day. A lot of people have become very much frustrated with the whole situation. And the thing we then consider for be fit now that nobody know they talk to them.
Well, this now the unfortunate situation under which we live in Sierra Leone presently. Things are happening carelessly. Things are happening I don't care damnly, and things are also happening unabated. Yet, people don't want to we talk about them. And just like how you say, with all waiting happen, so we not still get information from the ferry management, from the Ministry of Transport and Aviation in relation to solution as to the way forward. Yeah. So it's all of them things what they happen, they make we beg for ask this question. How responsible and responsive is the SLPP-led administration to issues of national development in Sierra Leone? Because just like how you say, the other day again, we hear about waiting happen at Bo, now the Bo Mini Stadium. People are still downplaying the issue. Yeah, then whatever people then talk about it, just make like say now something will happen, it happened, and it don't happen for those left and right. But that is not the way our society is being governed or being managed. Yeah. But the way the manner in which society they be managed, so it seems as if it's a call for concern. Sierra Leone is on the crossroad, and there is all need for we get duty bearers them for being responsible and responsive. And also conscience of the people, that is the media, the civil society, and the interreligious council for stand up tall and for ensure say then they on top of situation for address some of them challenges here we dey face. So because the government seems for the advantage the people them, the government seems for the take the people them for granted and deprive them of waiting they're supposed to forget. Especially when it be say this entity called government, in as much as government from the broader spectrum point of view, it's a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. But presently, this is just a government of the few. And the government of the few, you get the political administrators them inside the SLPP, where they manage this government here, where they tell we now say, wait till waiting they happen, una shut up, una just observe what we the govern una, what do we want for una, now we they do, and I'm best for una. But that's like how I say, not also development or governance structure they go. Government or governance structure is all about communication, participation, leading to development. But presently, we not get stake in the process. And this is heart-rending. It's heart-rending. So for me, I think the solution to this particular problem what we face now is to ensure that level-headed, intelligent, and well-meaning Sierra Leoneans who are potential voters come June 24th, 2023, save the people of Sierra Leone by changing this sect of irresponsible, right, administrators the way we get so, and vote for a regime change. We get a new government where we go for all accountable as to what's in the happen in Sierra Leone. Because for like ferry, we're supposed to take people there from one place to another, right? And it ambog like I ambog. So in the middle of the journey, when I see now what than they not get branch, you not get strong floor under which you go for step your foot on for seek rescue or waiting. So it's very, very risky. So look at now, we get ferry where they ambog like I they ambog. So government now for tell we, okay, now ferry don't ambog. But we, the government of Sierra Leone, don't put mechanism in place for that we get one or two more ferry for backup with the existing one that we get, so that we will address this issue of faulty ferry when not to today it don't they happen. Or neither we forget the government for tell we say now we don't construct a road from Lunge to Freetown, where now the Lunge bridge whatever they talk about, we go ease some of them kind challenges and pressure they also will be faced through this one or two ferry the way we get where they run, yeah. So looking at all of these things, they not construct roads or bridge for the people able to move from one place to another easily. They're able to provide more ferries there for people them so that they're able to use them for move from one place to another, Lunge and back. And then even when something happen, they know they come for can't talk to we. My brother, I'm afraid Sierra Leone.
So
we have had
for make sure say they reduce this tension, this problem of the transportation at the sea, especially Frito Lunge. Let me as well say they don't procure and they don't carry it. They show it on the two ferry. Yeah, we then say they don't carry it and then they go carry help. But a few months don't pass now, we don't hear anything. You don't get any information about that?
No, Mr. Moderator, because I could remember the Minister of Transport and Aviation being there in a television where he try for show people and say yes, the government don't come with one new ferry.
Exactly.
And this ferry also, they need for ensure say they redesign them, yes, and cuts according to them the step for let people that go for cancer or Komogonado, but up to now we're able to see nothing.
You
so
mean
this
the government can wait, not private ferry this or a government ferry?
Well, according to them, they say a government ferry.
So government will buy something and then they can spend a lot of money back for you design them.
Yes, exactly.
Because
but
the ferry when now, we see when they send a ferry, nobody even get ramp. Usai Mutuka then they go inside.
Exactly. We don't see that particular ramp, they Usai Mutuka they for pass. Then we just how they manage pass go inside the ferry, they don't show we they just show no more when they inside.
Yeah, they get small, You know, it's like them to all of them anyway. We know they take Mutuka. You know, they not make
Exactly,
am for
yeah.
take motoka, but if now then they go cut ram for put motoka there inside, you see the other risk where they come ahead.
Yeah, but apart from that, elect self na ferry way, not they take motoka or other goods them na just for motor money. Yeah? But how feasible and viable is this particular project, and how applicable it is that if this ferry also go slam na Tagreen or go slam na na
Government WAF or
government WAF, yes. If people that are able for worker for go inside it, that the first side that what we need for establish. If you go to the president, how accessible will it be
well,
for
I just that made them
pedestrians?
the design and for let you able to get ramp where people are going to pass as usual. Anyway, now we move and take another paper quickly because we chase time seriously. We take this solutionist, you know, newspaper where they say to improve economic risk monetary framework, IMF funds finance ministry. Melvin.
The IMF and the Ministry of Finance, long before now, they always don't get a married. And that married day now for either provide loan, for provide grants, or as the case may be, similar of the sorts. This is coming at the time very close to electioneering process or during an electioneering year. So they are saying the money is meant for development purposes, right? But what are the safeguards that this money will not be tilted or directed into electoral processes or even giving an edge to the government? So in as much as, yes, the government needs bailout because its economic policies have been woeful, fiscal discipline, if you read the MCC reports or scorecard, it's been so indisciplined under this administration, and yet still organizations like the IMF and the World Bank are coming into support. What does that say? It says that there might still be donor confidence in the current administration. It also says that the current administration must not take that for granted. As we can see, during 2018, last minute, we see how the World Bank and IMF then pull out of the APC with them in the back with a lot of funding. So on one hand, it assures of donor confidence, but on the other hand, it does not assure safeguard on its judicial usage. So for me, it's almost a case of, yes, the government getting a timely assistance from the IMF, but at the end of the day, how will this money change the lives of ordinary people? Although today, IMF and World Bank begin the corporate salon, but them money then how much it don't help for example, poverty. We are still ranked among the poorest countries in the world. We are still ranked among the hungriest countries in the world. We are still ranked among countries we need for make urgent economic reforms. And with the grim projection coming from the world, there is this fear that countries are going to slip into recession. We don't pay for that, although we don't know whether we are in a technical state of recession ever since we are in one. So moving forward, it's a welcoming news, and it's my hope that this money will not be used into campaigning, but it will be used to better the lives of our people who are really suffering.
I will bring for you again this second paper where I want for, because all through they talk about money, after you will make later and later yourself get a bite. You know, when they talk about citizens raise eyeballs, you know, as MDS expend 1.39 trillion outside 2021 budget. In other words, then they don't spend this amount when now 1.39 trillion out of the budget where Parliament approve. And at this same time, we see them spend this kind of money out of that budget. Say. But you find out with the budget where they can allocate funding, you know, quota to the different MDAs them. Their MDAs, they are the same cry back, say, they not get the second quota. For if you see them give them one, tell you don't give them 2 or 3. If they give them 2, 3, you know the kind side. So how will they manage with economy and with money business?
One author said that by miracle, people will live and the economy they run. But it's quite important to spot out that in as much as we get budgetary assistance from global bodies, yet still ministries, departments, and agencies, then they complain shortfall. So the question begs, where is the money going? I will not be surprised, as we already have a blueprint for no USAI money that they go as a way of drainages or as a way of other ways. So apparently, I think the big question here is accountability and transparency is still a big problem here in Sierra Leone. And if you go through the Auditor General's report of now and then, it is obviously clear that most of these monies, be they donor assistance, be they home source revenues, they are being misappropriated basically as a result of corruption, political patronage, and political protectionism. So say we are receiving this from IMF, it begs for cautious optimism and celebration, because this is not the first time IMF is providing such, but yet still the problems are not going away.
So the
We are
question
still
that I
grappling
will
for
ask
water.
you, why they really they give me money just like that? For example, if you they give me money every time, then you know say I not use them wisely. Yeah? If I don't get any interest, why you for the give me more money? Or if you not get something where you say the benefit. For example, we the see we budget, audit reports, they tell you what billions of leones where they lost every year. Secondly, when they talk about this extra expend where they spend out of the budget, and if you ask in terms of the auditing, you will notice there's some billions back don't missing yonder. But again, donors them every day they give me money, every day they give money. But we know the better. Now like when some thinking they then country people can say you dey get money, but all those they go from fame like na own show.
That shows the hypocrisy of the donor community globally. They are basically hypocrites because they are turning a blind eye to corruption. They are turning a blind eye to maladministration and misappropriation. All they are concerned about is when they give these monies, they give it terms and conditions. And from previous reports, we don't see how most of those donor funds can indirectly go back to the donors by way of administrative arrangements, by way of other arrangements that way can be embedded into some of the conditionalities.
So yes, this for the monitoring.
Of course, experts they come, they don't have this blue, get fat per diem. So it's like a chain of I don't want to say crooks, but a network of foul players, wherein even the donors are not exempted. Because you rightly say, if you put your money, then the money, you need to see the return for it. Why are you still putting your money? But because of these terms, then suits them, some man personally they get in own kickback under the negotiation. So who cares? They want to get the country as indebted as they can. And they'll begin to tell you that, oh, you are still far from your borrowing limits, your debt limits. These are all the technicalities where Western powers and donors don't use for which I say get influence and control over governments in Africa and elsewhere. So are they actually solving our problems or are they worsening it? And I think this is for them at the IMF and World Bank and these other organizations. Mind you, there are global criticisms against the IMF and their policies. If you turn your lens over to Greece, you will remember that the government in Greece collapsed as a result of IMF conditionalities. So even the IMF and the World Bank that we are talking about, they are also politicians in disguise using diplomacy, what I would call economic diplomacy. They all have their agenda. And most times this agenda is there to promote Western influence, Western power, Western hegemony, and all is gearing towards the geopolitical war for the scramble for Africa. Most times they bring aid. But do we need aid? There has been this debate whether Africa needs aid or not. Because the essence of that debate was the fact that corruption is eating all the aid, including the aiders themselves. People were saying, we don't need aid. We need our own model of development. So it can be welcoming if you are a pro-government person saying that, oh, there is trust in IMF and World Bank for the government. At the end of the day, how does it change the lives of ordinary Sierra Leoneans?
All right. All right, editor, this not the situation
Yeah.
we face now. You know, we get money we spend out of a budget, we mismanage reserve, but at the same time, then don't know so then they give me money every time. Every day they don't tell me. The unfortunate thing, every day they tell me, say, we don't get 500 million, we don't get 200 million, we go there. The money is so much fearful now the name. But we know they see the effect of the lives of people then. You know, as maybe they talk, even in as much as the international donors themselves get politicians them, we as well want for the grip them nations they are so under the control. But we leaders themselves, I think say they are gods. You know, the corruption, their selfishness, they're not able to get themselves out of them things there. They're not able to liberate themselves. So in the area of these MDAs, where they spend outside the budget and the funding, what do you make up of that?
Well, for me, I think this is just a large scale of corruption, if one would say. This is a large scale of corruption in the sense that there seems to be a chain of transmission from where the World Bank, right, gets for come to the resolution for give the government loan or grant or whatever as the case may be. Mind you, so we get other players them, yeah. We get other players them where now then they do their particular work here for ensure the governments get grants there so or funding there so as the case may be. So them players there so they are also human, right? They are human and they can also be tempted for be corrupt. Yeah. So another pool, they want them where they work for the IMF or World Bank out of the alleged corruption chain, yeah? Because obviously, just like how we have the see, in as much as from their own point of view, they will say, we're not able to get evidence for sure, say, then governments they are so they eat the people, they money them. And then secondly, if even then get evidence of here, but as an international organization, a multilateral donor entity, then self get for play diplomacy. How do they play diplomacy now for ensure say, okay, maybe what the happen now a country which they don't send money, then one side they say we don't see the money, or one side they say the money they will not use and the right to. I believe so then self again go be caught in the middle if they intend for take side for say yes, the money una not use the right way. So una give you the money back or una account for the money. So because of that, then they try for play this particular diplomacy also to an extent that then they fail for look at the pressing issues them and the real issues them. In as much as money go on lost, but you go hear somebody go tell them say I left everyone in their politics then they play. Just like how we Honorable CD Mohamed Tunis, when the Honorable Speaker of Parliament, be they lie to the ECOWAS Parliament and tell them, say, the issues the way they happen at Sierra Leone, it's not all about opposition parties having misunderstanding with the government or the people having misunderstanding and disagreement with the government. It's all about opposition infighting. It limit them to the main opposition APC, saying that they affect themselves. That's the only problem we get as alone. The other opposition parties, them then comfortable with the way man and with things they go as alone, and also the citizens themselves. So then kind blatant lies there so where politicians, them highly placed politicians, they tell now it make we not able to see the response of the donor entities them for address the issues them, because mind you, this is a case of your side, my side, and the truth. And just like how I say, the donors themselves can want for play diplomacy for ensure so they don't accuse them of meddling into any country in domestic or local politics. So because of that, they can be very careful in the way and manner they interfere into some of their allegations also of corruption. But I'm sure, like for winners alone, having a credible entity like the audit service report, yeah, or audit service Sierra Leone, I'm sure if reports like that they come out, Then donors that when they give them money for no say this not to politics. This now professionals them when them put now this economic and financial institution for manage the country in resources in terms of auditing, accountability, and transparency. So if you want to look at that from that angle there, then I'm afraid it seems as if it is just a strategy instituted by the international community, be it the donors them, foresee how corrupt a government is. Now somebody look at that again. So that make you see they're going to continue for give them money, yes, despite other people in the report say they use them properly. So for me, I don't think say that they in a plus to any government for say towards the tail end of the government administration, IMF, World Bank, they still give them money. Now, just now because of World Bank and IMF, they get confidence by that government. They say they use the money judiciously.
In just 30 seconds, this now just waiting kind of in mind. I just know what you think of. Maybe like out you first. Yeah. Okay. So, if I woke, yeah, people know say I woke, I get all what it takes for live a comfortable life. But every day, at the trust. You think say people go to take me serious?
Well, from a personal perspective, no. But from a governmental perspective, yes, because debts are part of financial and economic policies of every country.
Okay.
The great United States, the great China, they are all indebted. And sometimes they in fact extend the debt limits.
Okay.
So it's not a bad thing to take a debt. It is a bad thing when you take a debt for a purpose that is not fulfilled, leaving the next generation to come in to pay that debt. So for me, not to forget debts now the thing, now waiting will use the money for and how it will change and benefit lives. So on one hand, if me now work man, and not for the trust, I expect say me Mondon salary for who run me for the next month if I manage well. But government does not operate like that. They have several expenditure compared to the income when it can be commensurate. So they turn to what is called
for
domestic.
Everybody wait for understand that particular thing there. Yeah. So editor, quickly, what do you say think about that?
Yeah, for me, just like I was saying, I think say the international community and the borrowing institutions them one foresee the downfall of governments and also government administrators them. So that make they continue for give them money. When they get the money at the end of the day, mind you, when they play their own international diplomacy for effect regime change. Now all of them yardstick then they use. So you thinking that towards the tail end of your governance system, towards the tail end for me of election and still they give money, it don't mean say that confidence they get in you and then feel say you do the right thing. But then just try and continue for expose you because at the end of the day, even when, just like I was saying just now, the opposition parties then going to come up with their own take on corruption and also again the audit service reports that they come up with their own. I believe so. What the international community put two together, opposition position and that of state accountability and transparency institution operation, then come to the conclusion that yes, this government is corrupt. So for me, just like I was saying, like I happened number 2007 when DFID, IMF, and the World Bank they give the Slpp government money in 2007. But the way how they see them mismanage the money from 2002 to 2007, you see how they begin to frown at them towards the tail end when I make them lost power. So for me, now the same thing that happened to this present Slpp administration. Given of the fact that the IMF, World Bank, they give them money and then they eat them money, then we know they see the tangible effect of the money in Salona. So also against the national community, know they see them. Then for me, not just a yardstick.
All right, so we actually deal with two issues because we don't actually eat up the time. So this one are the actually all into few minutes follow we discuss them quickly. Two issues. One, the issue of the SLPP support our way, they don't get involved now in the Julde and KKY thing. And then as this one where I will first want to discuss now the issue of the Bo incident, you know, outside then go and distribute the sanitary pad and something happen. Look at the Salon Times say, as David Senge blunders, Bio console distressed parents in Bo. Mervyn, what do you think? Because a lot of people they think say this now a political thing. Some people say this not get anything for those politics.
But the paper first will establish how David Senge
blunder.
Is
Well,
there any
you gave or not say this na front page.
Yes, but again, with such sensationalization and attacking of a personality, for we now we always want to be the best of the best. So, firstly, if as a reviewer and an analyst and critical thinker, how he blunder? Now the first question can have in mind. If indeed Senge blunder, who disciplines him for that? Who takes the responsibility? And of course, Senge is an appointee of Madabio, the president. So by default, if Senge has blundered, then we should say Madabio has also blundered by virtue of what is called collective responsibility and vicarious liability. We are not talking law. I am not a lawyer. Apparently, from what I observe, I think that company that constructed that stadium should be roped. If you look the railing where they put the one where served dynamic veranda, Senge a strong passer.
Correct.
So when we are talking about substandard work, and quickly one for give the blame to the careful, because this is a company that was given a contract to construct a standard public infrastructure. Mind you, if there is any blame to be made here, I go blame the SLPP Madabio, because it been promised say where he can have power, where we vote in 2018, he go build stadium then. All of a sudden, we see one individual where they give monopoly over the team but skate na salon, now he no more the build stadium. So we go ask Madabio and in government where the stadium where be promised say he to build. So on the substance affected, you can only blame Senge ons. But again, somebody go on for say they want to make her emblematic and symbolic. So they take them to a big arena. That can be a justifiable excuse. But if there is anything to blame David Senge and Fatima Bio for, you can only blame them for not taking the distribution of these sanitary pads to the school. But again, let me not forget, say, not so bad that woman Fatima Bimino. Because na salon, it common where girl begin and see them period, most of them not go school. Research from UNICEF and other institutions, they don't prove that. So what they were doing was in place, but was it at the right place? That can be a question up for grabs. But if there is anybody to blame, let's blame Madabio.
The other question we
let's
go
blame
ask
the one who
again,
built the stadium.
The other question you go ask again, the messaging. You know, a lot of people they say this is political, it's not political. You know, some people say the messaging as well be political. So anything we get for do around that thing there is politics.
There is nothing in Sierra Leone now we're not political.
Here you are.
I will tell you that even when we had show what we do, I received a personal comment from somebody trying to tilt it as being politically in favor of one politician or one party. Mm-hmm. So the time make everything political, and that's what journalists need for do with homework well. Mm-hmm. Because if not, we'll be caught up in a perception of either being a propaganda for government or against government. And I don't think we are any one of the two. Mm-hmm. We are a centrist media providing the information how we see them and how we say they affect people. Mm-hmm. So back to it, of course, President Bio is in a campaign mood. His thank you talk is a campaign strategy and technique. Mm-hmm. Of course, Fatima Bio is a politician. She is campaigning vehemently for the husband. Mm. So you cannot separate politics from that distribution. Apparently, is it that politics are responsible for the calamity? I don't think so. Mm. It is not politics. Football, for we don't play there, we see worse disaster like that. So it's only unfortunate that then people are so, then they labor too much about the politics. So they make all wetin dem dey do is hard to be shift or filtered against politics. But is the issue a political issue? I don't think so. A lot of girls are in need of sanitary pads, and that was what the first lady was doing. Although we don't know who side the couple come out, who they get the money, whether it's state or donor funds, there are accountability issues that can be the bigger picture. But with regards to the incident, it's unfortunate, and if there's anybody to blame, the company that constructed that stadium should take the utmost responsibility. That's my honest opinion.
Editayo.
Well, Mr. Moderator, what you go on for say? I don't know if your program will permit me for here out waiting make President Bill vex pan David Monina Senge, or why they say Monina Senge don't fail or disappoint President Bill.
Okay, so yes,
I get the video.
Give me your opinion into this.
Yes, my opinion into this here, and the fact that according to the video where I get for play with today na my program and next, President Bill they talk to the picking them na the Bo Stadium, and they try for ask them say, NT in government they provide textbook and exercise book for them for being able to go to their schooling and do well. Could you imagine the president was embarrassed? The Pekin and shout at him and tell and say no.
Yeah, we play on as well.
Exactly. And the second one again, now when the president tell them say in government promise them during 2018 that he will provide food for them, and they see the talk, then they cook for the Pekin. The Pekin Allah say no, lie. So now then two things.
And even go further for say if now because we get Gary, then couldn't provide for now the Pekin and say no, Gary and sugar don't there.
Exactly. So now that area then they make it and say Monina Senge fail President Bill, not so because of the stadium where Boko. No. Yes. Now on that issues then they where the president promised, and mind you, say few of we don't they hit on some of the programs them. They condemn the president, say he promised for give them bag, promise for pay school fee, and promise for provide food for them, right? Including transportation. We make them say they come with the school bus there.
Yes,
the beginning say they say no get school bus again at Bobby. So now that making them say money not saying disappoint President Bill alone fail. And obviously, this is the broader picture of the failure of the SLPP in the area of the free quality education. I'm happy not to free tongo or Kenema or Potloko. Now both self-one the song didn't come on. Now then the beginning don't tell them say the statement as entrenched in the 2018 and 2017 manifesto campaign promises, then now they see them in order reach to the 8th. So that make the same money now saying get disappointed.
Okay, and Melvin, I think I count you inside this issue again. You know, this particular tour where the president they do, it actually targets the school Pekin. We see Gona Kono, it targets them. Now they target the school Pekin them because according to what they talk now that program they say they want the Pekin them for go tell them parents them say then for vote back for Marabio. You hear that right?
Of course.
Yes. So now if we face with this kind of situation, outside the president they cut boast pan the Pekin and then the Pekin they come out publicly and dispute what they say. What does this mean to a messaging?
It means say it gets a huge mismatch from what is being briefed and what is obtaining on the ground. It means say perhaps in critique them will say he has been armchair over his flagship project. Mind you, this na presidents will come na power if they go na office to office for check whether they go work quick. This na presidents will come na power where almost they on the ground for see they happen until we see the manifestation of him for traveling. So it means say President Bio might be misinformed, he might have been misled, and he need for do more, forget the common touch rights and hands on what is obtaining on the ground. For me, it's quite significant. Looking at how he was embarrassed in Kono, this is almost a repetition of that same embarrassment in a place dubbed the SLPP Atlant.
So this one, for me, in your opinion, I think that this one was past the corner, but just that people, because of the incident where come, he overshadowed waiting the Pekin and do.
Exactly.
I totally agree with you. Should that even another problem be perhaps the worst aim for the president? Is it that the chief minister is not doing his work? So for me, even assuming that David Senga misinformed the president based on the facts being stated, what is the role and responsibility of the chief minister? He is there to superintend other cabinet portfolio holders. Has he been doing that? I think the question is no. So President Bio and his advisors and his technocrats, there is a seeming mismatch between his message, and this is very significant because if your campaign message is faulted on the height, what if it goes now up against the APC and other political parties? This we are talking about actual beneficiaries detesting and counter-reacting to his campaign message on education, which is his flagship project. So for me, it's pointing to the fact that all is not well in Madam Bio's cabinet, and I will not be surprised if there is another cabinet reshuffle, because this is huge, an embarrassment for him.
This is not a part of this thing, but because we don't talk about mismatch, we don't talk about chief minister, we don't for the watch how the other ministry that they do, don't they watch how MDs then they operate, make sure they give supervisory role, play that kind of role there. We find out say a lot of people in there around the president where they deceive him, right? And they even the force for sign certain things that we're not supposed for sign.
Well, the president said, I go blame him. Not for anything that can do you for say, oh, you are the president. You are the chief executive officer. If you read section 40 of the Constitution and its subsections, there are delegated duties ascribed to the president. One of which, Fountain of Honor, Commander-in-Chief. Anything happy with armed forces now, President Bio takes the greater responsibility. Anything happy with any of the cabinet ministers they lie or talk to, President Bio takes the greatest responsibility. Now, in people learn votes for, not to a minister then. So for me, it exposes weakness in his leadership, and of course that is up for the politicians to say and his opponents. I am not an opposition operative or stalwart, but with all of those things critically, he is making it